A very good evening to all of you guys. Hope you guys are doing well and welcome to yet another virtual learning session. Today we are starting a bit later or quite late than the usual time that we start the class. I think we informed you guys via a message in your WhatsApp group that based on the power cut schedule, our all too familiar power cut schedule in my area, the power was supposed to return by 4:20. Unfortunately, it returned around 4:40. So somehow for around 4:40. So somehow we are now in the session. And the second problem is with the first is the power returning later than promised in the schedule. The second problem is initially we were given the schedule that again the second installment, the power cut will be at 6:30, but unfortunately now we learn it's around 6 o'clock. So can't help. Yes, let's make the best use of this bad situation and somehow make sure our learning continues. So I will do the class until 6 as much as possible, which leaves us with yet again for the second week also with a shorter session. Even last week we finished the session early for a personal reason. I requested that I would finish the session early, or therefore now today, because of the power cut issue, right? So let's see how we can work this out. What you guys can do is, as always, concentrate as much as possible, and we'll do a productive or effective session. Definitely, we'll try our best to do that, as always. Meanwhile, if some of you guys could just give me a kind of a reminder around 5:55 or around 5 minutes to 6, then I can start winding down the class, so that all of a sudden when the power goes off, we don't need to stop the class in the middle of our learning process. Yes? Right. Okay. I think you guys are clear on the point that I'm making. So yeah, are we okay with that? Yes. Audio, video, everything is okay. And we are right. Okay. We are good to have, we are ready to have a very productive virtual learning session. Yeah. Okay, and one more thing, today I don't think I have, or at least the technical people have shared a PDF with you guys for today's session, because I don't think I sent them a PDF also. So let's do the session. Most of you guys have the study material with you, right? So let's use the study material. Let's use the slides that I will be sharing on the screen. And let's have a productive session. And after the session, maybe by tomorrow or so, I'll make sure the PDF is also available for you guys. Okay, right. So yeah, with all those things, let's start then. So can you guys tell me, in terms of the study material, where have we stopped in terms of the study material? What is the page number we have to start? Since almost all of you guys, I'm sure by now, Puta, have the hard copy of the study material with you. Yes. Page 24. Okay. Does everyone agree with that? Are we okay? To be started in page 24. Right. Okay. Excellent. Good. So let's start there then. So let me share the study material a bit on the screen. Right. So we have discussed the concept of scarcity. And I remember that we went through the characteristics of scarcity. Did we? I think we did. I need a bit of help from you guys, because last week I finished earlier than the work I have scheduled for. That's why. Okay. Did we talk about the characteristics of scarcity, Putta? I think we did. And I wanted you guys to read the key conceptual differences. Am I correct? Right. Okay. Characteristics, I think we have discussed. So the conceptual differences, shall we start there? Yeah, I think we should start there. Okay. Remember, response is key. You guys need to respond and we need to have the discussion. Then only I can do this effectively. Right. So I'm going to start with the key conceptual differences. Right. I'll read through the characteristics once and then we'll start with the conceptual differences. Right. So in terms of the main characteristics of scarcity or how we recognize what scarcity is, we focus on basically three main characteristics. That is, scarcity is the central problem in economics. Why do we say that? All the other economic problems, concepts are created as a result of scarcity. Secondly, scarcity is a relative concept. We say a given resource is limited or the stock of resources in a country is limited only and only in comparison to the unlimited human wants. So it's a relative concept, comparative concept compared to wants. Thirdly, scarcity is a problem or phenomenon common to all. So I'm sure we did that correction, right? There's a small correction here. Scarcity is a problem or a phenomenon common to all societies and individuals. So scarcity is a universal problem. An easy way to remember is that universal meaning something common to every country in the world. Universal problem, right? Then we say, in addition to these three main characteristics, we also talk about two more. All individuals do not face the problem of scarcity in the same degree or intensity. That's a good word, intensity. That is the level at which each person feels scarcity. So first thing is for all of us, rich or poor, right? Whether we are living in a developed country or a developing, underdeveloped country, right? Whether we are, irrespective of whichever the gender, man or woman, whichever the ethnicity and whatever the social class, whatever we belong to, end of the day, all of us face the problem of scarcity because scarcity is a universal problem, right? But the intensity at which, the level at which we face this problem is not the same for all of us. So scarcity is common, but the level at which we face scarcity wouldn't be the same. Now, for example, how a rich person would feel the impact of scarcity, the gap between a rich person's unlimited wants, unsatisfied wants, and the wealth or the income to satisfy those wants would be lesser compared to that of a poor person. A poor person would also face scarcity, definitely, but the poor person would face the problem of scarcity at a higher intensity, higher level. The gap between the unsatisfied unlimited wants of a poor individual and their income or their wealth to achieve those would be bigger. So I'm sure you guys understand the point there. All of us face scarcity, but at different levels we experience scarcity. Intensity is different, right? So we are clear on these characteristics, and then different economic agents face different types of economic problems which are created due to relative scarcity. Now, if you take we'll say a household, if you take, I hope that's clear, if you take a household, their problem is they have a limited income and they are trying to achieve, or they are trying to, we say, maximize satisfaction. They're trying to maximize satisfaction. That's why we say households are, right? A household is a utility maximizer. Utility maximizer, right? So there are problems, there are challenges that, and the problem of maximizing utility is created, or it's something they have to always deal with, because they have limited income, limited wealth. They have to deal with the problem of satisfying their unlimited wants. Is that clear? But your parents, day in, day out, meaning every day, that is the challenge. With their limited budget, limited income, they have to find a way to fulfill yours and their unlimited wants. Get it? But when it comes to a business organization, right? Business organization, they are trying to maximize, we say, profits. They are trying to maximize profits. So in their effort to maximize profits, how they deal with the problem of scarcity is different. They have scarce factors of production or scarce resources, and they have to decide what are the goods and services they will be producing, and how to produce and sell those goods and services, how to produce them at the lowest prices and sell those goods and services, how to produce them at the lowest cost and sell them at the highest price. So they need to make these kinds of production and business pricing decisions because they are faced with scarcity. Okay. Then if you take, for example, if I move a bit up, if you take the government, another economic agent, the public sector, they are trying to maximize welfare. They are trying to maximize the welfare of the society, welfare of the people. So to maximize welfare, they have to decide with the limited tax income they have, the limited income they get, the government receives, the tax and other income the government gets, that is their limited resource. Government has to decide what would maximize welfare. Should we build a new hospital? Should we build new bridges? Should we build new schools? You know, they don't have money to do everything. So then they have to make these decisions and allocate their resources when they deal with scarcity. So whether it's the households, businesses, or government, the way they deal with these problems and the problems they deal with, where they deal with these problems and the problems they deal with, all are different because, but the reason for the problems are the same. Reason for all the problems is the same. Or is that relative scarcity? That would be relative scarcity, right? Are we clear about that? I need a bit of feedback here so that I can confidently move on to the conceptual differences area. Yes? Are we okay? Ladies, students, response? Yes, right. If there's any questions, any doubts, right? Or if you guys have a different opinion about what I'm saying, please don't hesitate. Simply just unmute your microphone and ask. If not, use the group chat option and let me know. Then I can look into that. Maybe, right? It's another way of looking at the same concept we are discussing. We can have a discussion, no problem. Right? That's the whole advantage of being a part of this live session. Okay? Part of this live session. Right. So since at least some of you guys have responded, I'm going to move on. Scarcity now. First, conceptual difference. So, when we say conceptual difference, what does it mean? When we say conceptual difference, the understanding you guys need to have is the two things which are clearly two different concepts. Why? Because they are defined differently, right? The definitions are not the same. That's the way, that's the best way to explain when two concepts are conceptually different. Give their definitions. Through the definitions, show that they are not the same. Is that clear? Right. And these are, there are three concepts that most people assume it is the same as scarcity. Most people think these concepts and scarcity are pretty much the same, which is the misunderstanding that we are trying to correct now, First one, scarcity and shortage. Okay. First and foremost, a shortage is, right now, okay, first and foremost, scarcity, that is our concept, no? Scarcity is defined as the limitedness or the inadequateness of a given country's stock of productive resources, endowment or stock of productive resources in comparison to the unlimited human wants of their society. Compared to the unlimited human wants, not having enough resources is the problem of scarcity. Not having enough resources means we cannot produce all the goods and services required to satisfy the said unlimited wants. It's a fact that every society in the world has unlimited wants. Humans have unlimited wants. Compared with those unlimited wants, relative to those unlimited wants, the resources we have enough resources, but they are not enough the moment we compare with unlimited wants. That's the problem of scarcity. That is the concept of scarcity. What is the shortage? Is that defined the same way? No, shortage is not defined the same way as scarcity. A shortage is a temporary market. I'll use the proper word first. A shortage is a temporary market disequilibrium. What that means is, in a given market, right, when the demand for that product is over and above the supply for the product, then there will be a shortage of that good in the market. Pretty clear with that, right? So when we say shortage, right, maybe I can go to the slides also a bit, but anyway, right, let's do it here. Let me clear this a bit. Right. So as I was saying, when we say shortage, it's a very temporary situation of market disequilibrium. We will learn these concepts in unit 2, right? In detail, we will learn, right? When we say a market is, right, at equilibrium, okay? Equilibrium. When a market is in equilibrium, what that means is, right? What that means is the demand for the product. The demand for the product equals the supply. So if a market is in equilibrium, there will be a situation where the demand for the whatever the good or service we are talking about, a market is, right? Each good or service has a market, has a demand and a supply. If the demand for the good equals the supply for the good, then we have a market which is in equilibrium. So whatever the price that is there, or whatever the price in the market, when the demand equals supply, is called the equilibrium price or the market price. Equilibrium price or the market price, right? Now, I said a shortage, right? If a market has a shortage, right, that can only happen, a shortage can only happen if the demand in the market is greater than the supply. When the demand in a market is over and above the supply, right, at a given situation, if the demand for that good is more than the supply, then the market has a shortage. So when demand equals supply, if we call it equilibrium, Buddha, when the demand is greater than supply, and it can be the other way around also, then we don't use the word shortage, right? That is when supply is greater than demand. We use the word surplus. We use the word surplus. But here we are talking about a shortage. But that is what is that is what can get confused with scarcity. So when there's a shortage, when demand is greater than supply, we say the market has a we normally write it as one word. I'm using the hyphen to make it easier for you guys to read. Disequilibrium. What is the term? Disequilibrium. So a shortage is one type of disequilibrium in a market where demand is greater than supply, right? And normally when there is a shortage in the market, it's a very kind of a very obvious thing for you guys to even understand. Whenever there's a shortage in the market, the market, MKT is market, price of the product starts to increase, right? That's the way actually the market will solve the problem, by increasing the price. We say pushing the price up. When the price starts to increase with the, right? When prices increase, our demand for a good starts to decrease. When prices increase, supply starts to increase. Producers get encouraged, consumers get discouraged. So that gets to solve the problem, because the problem is more demand, right? More demand and less supply. But when the market price starts to increase, the demand gets discouraged and the demand starts to decrease. Supply gets encouraged and the supply starts to increase. So when the price keeps increasing, demand keeps decreasing, supply keeps increasing, and we come to the equilibrium. So what does that mean? A shortage is very important. A shortage is a temporary problem. Shortage is a temporary problem, right? It's very important that you identify that. A shortage is a temporary problem. It is not a permanent thing. But scarcity, as long as we live in human society, as long as humans live, right? Scarcity will always be a problem. Scarcity is a permanent problem, whereas shortage is a very temporary situation. Actually, I should highlight here where it says shortage. Shortage is a very temporary situation, right? Okay. So therefore, we need to understand, right? We need to understand that scarcity and shortage are not the same. Is that clear? Shortage is a temporary market disequilibrium where a given product has a higher supply, greater demand or higher demand than the supply. And by price increasing, or we call a market adjustment, the shortage can be solved. The shortage is temporary. Scarcity can't be solved like that. Right. Clear or not? If you guys give me the answer, I can move on to the next conceptual difference. Yes? Are we okay? Anything to ask? Anything to clarify? Very quickly. Ladies, gentlemen. Ladies. Buddha, I need most of you guys to respond. Otherwise, I am not very confident to keep going, no, Buddha. Right? After I explain everything, if you guys tell me that you are not clear with something, right? That's a very inefficient use. That's another thing we'll talk about, of our scarce resource of them all, time. Yes? So let's be very efficient. That's a very important requirement when we live in a world of scarcity, when we study economics. I think few more of you guys can be a part of the session. Actively join our discussion, right? And respond to the questions. Make the best use, right? As I've said many times before, Buddha, from your side, do everything you can to make virtual learning effective. Before we start complaining about the limitations of virtual learning, we have to do everything we can, right? To make it effective. Okay? Right. So some of you have responded, right? Let's see as we go further. I'm sure the others also will start responding. It's an important requirement. Okay. If not, Buddha, I will also have to make some adjustments or some changes. No, maybe if I don't get responses from you, I will have to then maybe find a way to make sure I see you guys participate in the session. No, otherwise, from my side, it's not fair. Okay. So I might need to come up with now people who do this pre-grade preschool, they always, it's a rule right? And in most schools, when they have online learning for smaller grades, it's normally a rule that the camera has to be switched on. It's a must. There is no exception for that, right? So if you can't switch on the camera, you basically can't be in that virtual session, something like that, right? We don't do that because we don't want to make it a bit uncomfortable for you guys, but you guys also have a responsibility. Always remember that if I can't do my job, then I will have to make changes. Your parents are paying the fee so that I do my job properly. If I can't do my job properly, if I can't give your parents the assurance that their kids are learning effectively, then I'm not doing my job properly. So that's why I keep on saying, I need to see that all of you who are in this session, every time I ask for a response, yes, are active enough, and focused and concentrating to quickly give me a response. So most of the time, it's a yes or no response. If not, maybe an answer for a question that I'm asking. Every participant in this small virtual class that I do, I should be able to get every participant to respond. If any participant is not responding at all, then I am not confident that that particular participant is actually concentrating or focusing. Then I will have to go and find a way to make sure that I can ensure that all of you guys are focusing. I think the only way I can do that is make it compulsory for you to switch on the cameras so that I can guarantee to your parents that I saw you in the class and I saw that you were focused and concentrating. And when the camera is switched on, if you fall asleep or something, I can wake you up. I can get you to concentrate. Okay. So that is the last thing I can do. So I don't think we need to go to that because some of you guys would find it a bit uncomfortable, I think. So, but before we do that, you can actually show me that every single person participating is responding. And I'm also sort of observing how you guys respond. Okay, this is not a complaint, but this is a small this is where I'm sharing my thoughts and I'm sharing why I'm asking you guys to respond as much as possible. Let's see. Whatever I said up to now, do you guys agree with it? Is it clear? Maybe a yes or no? I'm waiting. I'm looking at the responses. I'm looking at the list of participants. I'm looking at the responses. Okay. I have both of those in front of me on the screen. Okay. So have all of you guys responded? Yes. Okay. Right. Yeah, let's say yes. Okay, good. So let's move on. And by the way, but if all of you guys are okay, we can definitely change that small thing and we can go for a very active session where I can make it compulsory to have the camera switched on, right? Let me know. We'll talk about it if necessary, right? But I think you guys are okay with this format, right? If you guys have any anything to say there, just use the group chat option and let me know, Buddha. For now, we'll go with this, right? Where you can, if anyone wants to switch on the camera, please do so, right? No problem. If not, please respond. Then, of course, we are okay, right? For now, we are okay. Right, scarcity and poverty. Now, the concept is simple. As I said, always it's about the definitions. How do we now? We define scarcity, right? One more go. Scarcity is that. Sorry, scarcity is the in limitedness or inadequateness, insufficiency, one could say, of a given country's stock of productive resources in comparison to the unlimited wants of their society, unlimited wants of the society. Right? That's scarcity. That's the definition. Poverty is defined as the inability to satisfy basic human needs, even at a minimum socially acceptable level. If that is too long, poverty is simply the inability to satisfy basic human needs. That is the definition of poverty. In the definition of poverty, or in defining this concept known as poverty, we do not talk about a comparison between the limited resources and unlimited wants. Poverty is simply the inability to satisfy the basic human needs, which we learned, you guys remember, such as food, clothes, shelter, health, and education. If you can't satisfy your requirement for the need for food, clothes, shelter, health, education, even at a minimum socially acceptable level, you are poor. You are facing poverty. Poverty means being poor. That is the definition. So obviously, being poor and facing scarcity are two different things. Why? Because facing scarcity doesn't mean you're poor. Again, facing scarcity doesn't mean you are poor, because any and every individual in the world will face the problem of scarcity. Even non-poor, i.e., we can say rich if you want to, rich people, that is rich people and poor people equally face the problem. Rich people and poor people commonly, universally face the problem of scarcity. Of course, the way scarcity affects the rich is less intense than the way scarcity will affect the poor. But Puta, rich and poor, rich or poor, you face the problem of scarcity. So scarcity and poverty are not the same. Okay, so we'll read this once with you. You guys can read it with me. It says scarcity is conceptually different from poverty. That is being poor. Okay, what is being poor? Inability to satisfy basic human needs. Basic human needs. Relative scarcity is a problem faced by rich and the poor at different degrees. Different degrees meaning, remember that word, degrees is another word to say intensity, right? Different intensity, right? We talked about that earlier. So at different levels, rich and poor face the problem of scarcity, but scarcity and poverty are not the same, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. So we now know, like anyone else, we are not going to get confused. We are not going to think when we look at someone and say this person is, or someone says this person is facing scarcity. That doesn't necessarily mean that is a poor individual. When someone says this person is poor, right? That means that person is finding it difficult to satisfy basic human needs. And yes, rich or poor, you face the problem of scarcity. Right. Okay. A bit more responses, but could be 100%, right? With the next one, I'm going to see 100% responses, right? Okay. I'm sorry, but what I'm doing might be annoying, but that's my job. My job is to keep you all focused, especially because this is virtual classes, right? Your parents have trusted in me to do that. Okay. It's my job. Scarcity and efficiency. Okay, scarcity and efficiency. Now, when it comes to this concept called efficiency, efficiency is defined as, I'm not going to define scarcity again, because already 2 times I've defined it. You know what scarcity is. Efficiency. Efficiency is basically making sure we make the maximum productive use of our limited resources. In other words, in a simple way, what that means is, producing the maximum output using minimum inputs. Let me repeat, producing the maximum output using minimum inputs. Another way to think about efficiency is, if you are efficient in production, efficient in using limited resources, what that means is you will be able to produce output at the lowest cost possible. If you're producing output at the lowest cost, that means you are being efficient. So actually, yes, that is what efficiency is. Actually, a concept that people get confused with scarcity is efficiency, yes, but more than efficiency, the opposite of efficiency. Inefficiency. Inefficiency, right? People think scarcity, and not you and me, of course, people think scarcity and inefficiency are the same. No, because the definition of scarcity is limited or inadequate stock of productive resources in comparison to unlimited human wants. As long as human wants are unlimited, resources are limited. Okay? Inefficiency means, right, we are not making the best use, we are not making the full use of the resources we have. Therefore, we are not able to produce the maximum output using the minimum inputs. In other words, inefficiency means we are producing an output, but we are producing it at a cost that is more than the cost we have to have, or we are unable to produce an output at the lowest cost. We are uneconomical. Inefficiency means we are uneconomical. If we are economical, then we are efficient. So, but now the basic understanding here is, you can see based on what I just said, the definition for scarcity and the definition for efficiency, inefficiency is not the same. And most people get this kind of an idea that a country faces or a society faces scarcity because they are inefficient. Now, Sri Lanka as a country faced the problem of scarcity. Sri Lanka as a country, I'm sure you guys will agree with me, at least at this moment, is inefficient in the way we use our scarce resources. So Sri Lanka is facing scarcity, Sri Lanka is inefficient. Now, if someone starts to put those two things together and say, Sri Lanka is facing scarcity because Sri Lanka is inefficient, correct or wrong? If someone says Sri Lanka is facing scarcity, right, because Sri Lanka is inefficient, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Respond. Do you agree or disagree? Sri Lanka is facing scarcity because Sri Lanka is inefficient. So that means if Sri Lanka is efficient, Sri Lanka wouldn't face scarcity. That is what it means, no? Do you agree or disagree? Okay. Go ahead, Pata. Brilliant. Whatever your response is, that is what I'm asking for. No? I'm not asking for the correct response. I'm asking for your response. Okay. Go ahead. Right. Okay. Christine, did I get your response? Maybe I didn't see. Right? What do you think? Agree or disagree? Right? Agree. Okay. Or disagree? Emma? Okay. Good. Right. I think most of you guys have responded. Did I get from Shera? Let me. Nadishani. Okay. Good. Shera, I don't see. Am I missing it? Yes. Normally you respond. Right. Okay. Right. So let's see. Yeah. Now the thing is this. Now the statement was Sri Lanka faces scarcity because Sri Lanka is inefficient. I would disagree. If you agree with that, that means the reason why Sri Lanka is facing scarcity is because we are inefficient. And the moment we become efficient as a country, we will not face the problem of scarcity. That is what it means. Then, Putta, what about the characteristic that scarcity is a universal problem? Developed or developing country, rich or poor country, all countries in the world, all societies in the world, all individuals in the world commonly face the problem of scarcity. Scarcity is because the resources we have are not enough in comparison to the unlimited nature of human wants. In every country in the world, as long as humans live, wants will be unlimited and the problem of scarcity will be there. Got it? So Sri Lanka is also a country where people live. Sri Lankans also have unlimited wants. Compared to the unlimited wants of Sri Lankans, the stock of resources in Sri Lanka is inadequate, insufficient, or not enough. So we also, like every other country in the world, face the problem of scarcity. That is the definition. That is the concept. Yes, Sri Lanka is at the same time, while Sri Lanka faces scarcity like every other country in the world, at the same time, there's another thing we see in our country. What is that? Separately, we are inefficient. Okay? Of course, Sri Lanka being inefficient makes the problem of scarcity more intense. Get it? The level of scarcity Sri Lanka faces is higher because we are inefficient. That I agree. But the reason why we face scarcity is not because we are inefficient. Got it? Inefficiency is one thing, right? And scarcity is something else. Just because a country is efficient, that doesn't mean they can solve the problem of scarcity. I hope you guys agree and understand. Okay? Right. Good. Brilliant. Right? So scarcity and efficiency are also conceptually different. Scarcity is a problem connected with unlimited human wants compared with limited stock of resources, while it is not a problem created due to inefficiency, not a problem created due to inefficiency. It is important that now, this I also mentioned, very important, that all economies make efficient use of scarce resources. Because resources are scarce, it's important we need to be efficient. That's okay. But being efficient doesn't solve the problem of scarcity. Right? Right. Brilliant. Okay, done. Let's move on. Next, alternative uses. Okay. So I will now go to the slides a bit. Also, let's see. These are things we covered. Alternative uses. Okay. Yeah, right. We'll continue with the study material and come to the slides after we do alternative uses, problem of choice. Right. Alternate, very simple, Nabata. There's nothing much to really explain or understand here. Right. A given resource. Right. Now, when we say resources, right, we will learn this properly later. For now, we always talk about 4 main things, right? We will learn them properly in the learning key 4 in the same study material you guys have, right? By the way, I'm sorry, I just need to do this because otherwise the coordinator will get annoyed with me if I don't remind this. All of you in this session today and anyone who will be watching the recorded version, you have this book. Yes, the hard copy of this book. Yeah, if anyone doesn't put it's high time that you immediately, not now, after the session, get in touch with the coordinator and make sure you have this. You need to have this, the notes, right? The study material, right? In this first book for unit 1, economics, the syllabus is, Titanic. Right, each unit is big. You guys have the area where we learn about the production, resources, factors of production and all that. Right? Okay, so as I was saying, great. Okay, as I was saying, we have land, right? We have labor, we have capital, right? And lack of space. Okay, here we have entrepreneurship, long word. So I'll just write ENT for now, entrepreneurship. So, but if you take each of these resources individually, a piece of land, labor meaning the physical, mental efforts of a person, right? Labor unit, capital meaning man-made resources, things like buildings, machinery, factories, equipments, vehicles, all those. Then entrepreneurship is a special kind of human resource who is able to identify business opportunities, organize a business production process, make decisions and face risk in production and be innovative. Entrepreneurship, right? So all of these four resources or factors of production, individually or as a combination, individually a given resource or a combination of resources, represent, show, simply said, they show more than one use. Multiple, more than one use, right? More than one productive use. That means without using these resources, we can't say there's always only one particular good or service we can produce, nothing else. No. We can combine them in different ways using different technology, right? We can produce different kinds of goods and services. That is simply the meaning for alternative uses. If you take a piece of land, you can do many things with that piece of land. If there is a 1 acre piece of land in a city or in a town, in that 1 acre piece of land, you can build a commercial building, a factory or something. In that 1 acre piece of land, you can have a apartment complex, housing complex, right? In that 1 acre piece of land, maybe you can build a institution, a support class institution, a private college or something like that. In that 1 acre piece of land, you can have a small urban garden, urban in the city, right? Just to bring some greenery to the city, you can have an urban garden in that 1 acre piece of land. You can have a children's playground in that 1 acre, children's park or a playground in that 1 acre piece of land. You can build a library, you can build a swimming pool complex in that 1 acre piece of land. You can have, you can basically use it as a car park for the city. Get what I'm saying? So all of these are different uses, productive uses, because all of those create a certain good or a service there, no? Benefit is there. So productive uses of that piece of land. But the thing is, Puta, since we only have 1 acre of land, what is that? Since resources are scarce, we can't make use of, we can't actually do everything with it, right? We have to make a choice there. So we can't have a factory, we can't have a housing complex, we can't have a institution, we can't have a urban garden, we can't have a children's playground, we can't have a swimming pool, we can't have a library, we can't have a, what else did I say, car park, we can't have everything. Maybe a few of those we can do in a combination, but everything we can't have a shopping complex, everything put together. Then someone can say, why can't we can have a big building where we can fix all of this into it? We can, Buddha. But then again, right, none of those things would be done fully. No. Get what I'm saying? You can't look at that piece of land and say, this is a car park, while it is something else also. So that is where the word, I'm trying to explain the use of the word alternative. The word alternative meaning this or that. The word alternative, generally simple meaning is alternative, this or that. Get it? So these are called not the users of resources. These are called the alternative users of resources, because even though there are many users for a given resource or a combination of resources, we can't do or we can't use all of them, because we have the problem, the central problem of, what is the central problem? Scarcity. We have the central problem of scarcity. Is that clear? Right. So this is the basic idea of alternative uses. Because resources are scarce and they have alternative uses. That is what I'm saying in the second para. Alternative uses are a quality or attribute common to many resources. This is known as competing ends. Alternative uses, so that is also important, no? AKA, also known as. Remember, alternative uses is sometimes called competing ends. Competing ends, right? Alternative uses of resources is one of the alternative uses of resources is one of the reasons for the creation of a problem of choice. What is the other reason? Scarce resources with alternative uses. Scarcity is the first reason. Alternative uses, resources being scarce, limited is the first reason. Such limited or scarce resources having alternative uses is the second reason. Together, scarce resources with alternative uses make choice unavoidable. We say creates a problem of choice. Creates a problem of choice. Choice is sometimes called trade-offs. You can see that in the next heading. Are we okay? Done? Clear? Yes? Right. Good. Now we have covered the second, sorry about that. We have covered the second, main concept also, scarcity, alternative uses. Now the problem of choice. Okay, right. So like we have done for scarcity, I have given a certain list of terms, right? When you write a good description, good definition for the problem of choice, please make sure you are able to include all of these words. Then you are writing a really, really good definition, really, really good description for what the problem of choice is. It's a very simple thing, right? So what we will do is we'll write the note quickly and then I'll explain, right? It's a very basic thing. So I think these slides will help us, if I am not mistaken, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anyway, we'll start writing with that, right? Please write in a paragraph. Okay, listen to me also. Don't necessarily write what is on the slide, but listen to me and quickly write this note in a paragraph. Please write. Okay, right. Choice in economics. We are writing. Choice in economics is broadly a decision. For now, I'm saying what is what you can see on the slide, but just listen to me and continue to write. Okay, choice in economics choice in economics is broadly a decision of allocating scarce resources, broadly a decision of allocating scarce resources, That word allocating is very important, okay? Allocating scarce resources with alternative uses, to satisfy a society's, society's unlimited wants, to satisfy a society's unlimited wants. Full stop. But now listen, okay, and get this done properly. Full stop. Right. In a separate paragraph or a sentence, please write. Don't write what is on the screen. Just listen. Right. In a separate paragraph or separate sentence, right? Please write. All societies, okay, listen and write. All societies face unavoidable trade-offs, You can write it with a hyphen in the middle, trade-offs, if not as one word, okay? Face unavoidable trade-offs. We finish with the S, trade-offs. Due to relatively scarce resources. Due to relatively scarce resources. With alternative uses. Relatively scarce resources with alternative uses. Okay, with alternative uses. Full stop. Therefore, continue, same sentence or the same paragraph, new sentence. Therefore, economics is known as a science of choices. Economics is known as a science of choices. Economics is known as a science of choices. Right? Economics is known as a science of choices. Economics is known as a science of choices. Right, full stop. Okay. Then separately, let's check whether this might, the next part that I'm trying to get you guys to write might be printed. Okay. So let's quickly check in the study material. Yeah, it's there. So I don't think it's required to be written. Okay, right. And before we start talking about the problem of choice or trade-offs, can we just highlight a few things where we discussed alternative uses? Yeah, right. Given real combination of resources, more than one. Okay. So basically what we are saying is represent more than one, right? Productive uses. That is the meaning, productive uses, right? So it could be a resource or a combination of resources represents more than one productive use, alternative uses of resources, right? Then, so this is what we say is an attribute or a quality common, right? In most resources. There are some resources that do not have alternative uses, but most resources have alternative uses, right? Attribute common to many resources, And then remember, it's also called competing ends, right? And it's alternative uses of resources. One reason for the creation of the problem of choice. One reason for problem of choice, right? Can you guys quickly get those things highlighted or underlined, right? Okay. Right. Good. Then moving on. Now, here you can do the underlining, highlighting as a self exercise with that, because the words or the terms that need to be underlined are the ones in this list. Get it? And I just want to be clear. Are you guys clear on the word allocation? Allocation means when we use the resources, or how we use the resources. That is what we are. That is a meaning we are trying to give with the word allocation. Okay. So every society in the world, every country in the world broadly has to make resource allocation decisions. Resource allocation decisions. That is the choice they have to make. So with those resource allocation decisions, what they're doing is they're deciding how to use their limited resources, right? We'll talk about that a bit more. So the word allocation is key. Talking about scarce resources, alternative uses, unlimited wants, unavoidable trade-offs. We have used all these words, right? And that's why we say economics is a science of choice. So why is the problem of choice created? Because we have scarce resources with alternative uses, relatively scarce resources. Why do resources become relatively scarce compared with unlimited wants? All that we have captured in our description that we have given, right? Then basic economic problem. That's what I'm about to explain now. Basic economic problems. Every society in the world, when they allocate resources, meaning when they decide what to do with their scarce resources, or when they face this problem of choice, they are faced with three basic problems. They are faced with three basic problems. So these three basic problems are created in the, I would say, in the, or we need to face them, that's better, process of resource allocation. When we decide what to do with our resources, we have to face three basic problems. Basic meaning they are the first thing we have to solve, and they are common to every country. Basic problems, right? They are common to every country, and they are the first things we have to solve, right? What are these three problems? The problem of what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. So they are all about production. That's what we do when we allocate resources. We are trying to decide how to use our resources. What do we do with resources? More or less, we produce goods and services. But we have to decide what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. There are other ways to talk about these problems: allocation, production, distribution problem. Let's have a basic idea, because we do a detailed learning in chapter 3. In chapter 3, we learn in detail. But for now, we need to have a basic idea of what these three problems are: what, how, and whom to produce. I might have talked about this once before. I will talk about it once more again in the future, right? Once again in the future. But for now, let's quickly do this, right? I might need to go to another slide to explain this to you guys, right? Why is this? Okay, here we go. Right, sorry. Okay. For some reason, the exact slide that I'm looking for seem to be missing. Right. I think this will work. Okay. Every society in the world has to solve three problems when they allocate resources: what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. I like to explain this in a very simple way using an analogy, kind of an example, right? When we say something is like something, kind of a thing, analogy. The analogy I'm going to use is I would say every country in the world has to make a cake. Every country in the world has to make a cake. The cake here is with the every country has to produce goods and services. Yes. Hold on. I'm still sharing the files, no? Yeah. Don't get scared looking at the files, right? Each unit in economics is very big. Okay. Right. Now you can see the slide. Correct? Thank you for letting me know. See the importance of you guys responding, communicating with me. Right. Okay. So every country in the world, Putta, has to make a cake. The cake here, the analogy of a cake I'm using, every country has to produce goods and services. The total amount of goods and services, total value of goods and services, every country in the world produces is what we call the GDP of the country, the gross domestic product, right? So every country has to produce goods and services. That's true. So that's why I'm saying every country has to make a cake. But we have to decide first what kind of a cake are we going to make, because there are different kinds of cakes. You can make, as you can see, right? No, don't go beyond the learning here, right? You can make, what are those small things called? We can make, what is this called? Yeah, let's see. You guys are. Yes, thank God. Cupcakes. You can make a cup. You can make cupcakes, right? You can make the cake, you know, the what we normally call cake, butter cake, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or you can make a very rich, you know, get you kind of fruits and, you know, chocolate and whatever, not 10 vegetable. No, don't put vegetables, right? All that you can make a cake. So there are different kinds of cakes. There are different kinds of goods and services a country can produce. But remember, resources have alternative uses. But resources are scarce. So we can't produce all the goods and services. We can't make all of these cakes. We have to decide what is the cake we are going to make. That is the problem of what to produce. What are we going to produce? We have to decide. That's a choice every country has to make. Get it? Right. So if we decide to make cupcakes, we might not be able to make butter cake and the gateau cake or whatever the other cake. That means there is a trade-off. We are giving up something. Get it? Right. Trade-off means that to get one thing if you are giving up something else. That's called a trade-off. Choice. Second problem, how to produce. Once we decide what kind of a cake we are going to make, we have to decide, are we going to make this cake manually or are we going to use machinery equipment? When we produce things manually, when we make things manually, right? That means, Putta, we are using, right? I'll write it here. We are using labor. If we use machinery equipments more in our process of making the cake, we are using more capital. So every country has to decide when it comes to the problem of how to produce, are they going to use more capital intensive production? You guys now know the meaning for the word intensive, no? The level at which. So capital intensive meaning more capital. Labor intensive meaning more labor, manual work. So we have to decide how to make the cake. Get it? What is the cake? How to make the cake? What to produce? How to produce? Third problem is, once we have made the cake, how are we going to distribute the cake? Get it? Who gets how much of the cake? Are we going to distribute the cake, as you can see, equally, where everyone will get an equal size piece? Get it? Everyone gets a similar amount of purchasing power and goods and services? Or are we going to make it a situation where whoever has a bigger knife, can cut a big piece, and others might get, now one person who has the biggest knife can get this piece, right? This goes to one person and this goes to everyone else, right? So we say all else gets this. So is that the way? Or equally, everyone gets the same size? So these are decisions a country has to make. So a country can have a system where everyone has similar income purchasing power. So everyone gets a similar amount of goods and services. Or we can come up with a system where whoever has more purchasing power, whoever has, the big knife here is the purchasing power, the income. Whoever has more money can get more goods and services. So different countries can have now, for example, socialist system is equality based. Then the capitalist system is, based on each person's wealth, purchasing power, you get what you want. So when you decide how to distribute the cake, that is the problem of whom to produce. Is that clear? What to produce, how to produce, whom to produce, right? What to produce, how to produce, whom to produce, right? Thank you for the reminder on the time check, Putta. Right? We will wind down now because unfortunately, even though we started late, there's a power cut scheduled again at 6. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Right? Hopefully next week we'll work out a better schedule. Right? Not the power cut schedule. I can't work that out. Right? But class schedule we'll try to work out, Putta. Okay? Please keep your Friday evenings a bit flexible, because we'll have to manage this a bit, okay? With the power cuts, I mean. Okay, so but are you clear with did the analogy work? Is it something useful for you to remember the 3 problems? What to produce, how to produce, whom to produce? Are we okay? Yes, a lot of my students in the past have made best use of this analogy. There are a few more like that we will learn, right? Okay, easy way to remember the problems. What, how, and whom. Okay, right. Think about the cake. Don't think about the cake too much, right? Okay, good. So I think we are okay. Right. Next, Putta, we have to talk about opportunity cost. So what I will do now is quickly give you the note, and then we'll talk a bit more about opportunity cost. Okay, right. What I want you guys to do is, right, in the study material, I'll quickly show that to you, or show this to you. In the study material, Putta, here I have printed one of the definitions, this part. Okay, one of the definition is given. I want you to write the word, okay, listen, and we'll go get this done. You have to manage the space also. I want to write the word alternatively, right? Alternatively, have a colon, okay? And then below that, 2 more ways of giving the first part of the definition for opportunity cost. When you define opportunity cost, there are a few parts. The first part, I have printed one option. There are 2 more options which we are writing as alternatively. Are we okay? Right, you guys are clear. So quickly we'll write these 2 things. Right, say alternatively, and write these 2 definitions also, please. Alternatively, right? Okay. Quickly write these 2 also. Here it says nest for some reason. The word is next. Okay, you guys need to continue writing. Okay. There is a suggestion made by one of your classmates to can't we have the class in the mornings? Okay. Is there anyone who is having school, Buddha, already started? If you're already going to school for 2024 advanced levels, if your schools have started. Some schools have, that's why I'm asking, right? That's why I'm, because once or twice we did in the morning because schools were anyway not there on Fridays, but now all 5 days they're having school, no? Right? So that's why I'm having a bit of an issue having the class in the morning. Okay. Maybe we'll check with you guys next week, right? And we'll try to have it in the morning. If not, Puta, the other option is, so definitely we'll try to do that. If everyone is okay, then I can have the class in the morning, right? If not, another option is today also, actually, I thought of doing that. Going from about Puta, now the problem is the schedule time of this class, right? The originally agreed schedule time of this class is from 4 to 6. So that is something we decided based on my schedule. And that is something that all the other your virtual classmates, we have agreed and joined. So that original schedule time, Buddha, I can't change. These days, because of the power cut, we have to look at now. Today also, I was unable to start at 5 as you're suggesting. I would have loved to start early or love to start late. You know, now if I start at 5 today, right, then what time I have the next power cut at 6 o'clock in my area. Get the point? Right? So to these days, because of the power cut, we are trying to adjust. But remember, the schedule time, Buddha, I can't change because that is something we have agreed on and we have started 4 to 6. So when you join the class, I'm sure that was clearly communicated. Power cut adjustments we'll do. Okay. You guys also have to help me by being flexible. And any of your friends, schoolmates who will be joining the virtual classes in the future, tell them also schedule time is 4 to 6. That's how the time the sir is doing the class. But because of the power cut issue, sometimes sir might make some adjustments. Okay. Right. Done. You guys are done with this? Yes. Right. Okay. Now, it's a few minutes past 6 o'clock. I don't want to take the risk of all of a sudden the class ending. Yes. So there's another part that we have to write in the note here, Buddha. Okay. Where I want to give you the definition, including some of the features also. That is what we have said here. Can you see in the key terms list? There is this subjective, real, cost in economics, external. Including all of these, we are going to write a para. That is going to be our next part of the definition. Okay. So the first part of the definition is this, either this method or alternatively, you have number 1 here also. So any of these things is number 1. Okay. And then the second part is here, including the features. Then we have 1 plus 2, we have a full definition. So I've written number 1 3 times. You understand one of those 3 methods you can use to begin the definition. Then the second part you plug in and you have a perfect definition. Okay. So that second part, shall we quickly try to write if it's okay with you guys? Okay. So I'll more or less officially tell you that there might be a possibility while you're writing the note, the class might end. Is that okay? Yes. So with that understanding, Buddha, we'll quickly write this part. Then you have a note to go through, no? Right? Then next week we can be a bit more efficient. Yep. Shall we then? Right. We'll do that. Okay. Please write in a new paragraph. Okay, in a new paragraph, please write. Okay, right. We are writing. Opportunity cost is, please write, opportunity cost is a highly opportunity cost is a highly subjective, the word is there in the list, subjective and real concept, highly subjective and real concept, full stop. Cost in economics, continue the same paragraph. Cost in economics is opportunity cost. Cost in economics is opportunity cost. And cost in economics is opportunity cost. And, comma, in some situations, and, comma, in some situations, comma, may include, comma, may include external cost. In some situations, comma, may include external cost. External cost. External cost. May include external cost. Done? Are we okay? Right. So you guys are clear that either the printed part or one of the two alternative options is the first part of the definition. Then what you wrote now is the second part of the definition. That is how we write a proper definition for opportunity cost. With that, Putta, let me conclude the session for the day. If you guys have anything to ask, you can quickly ask, right? We are at the threshold of a power cut, we are at the boundary of a power cut. So you can ask any questions. If not, I hope whatever we discussed today was effective. And I hope all of you guys will remember the importance of you guys helping me by responding and being a part of the discussion we are having in our virtual classes. Okay, right. So with that, Putta, let me wish all of you a very good week ahead, and a very good night. Okay, right.